Bienvenidos a un nuevo episodio del podcast del Salón de Idiomas. Hi, Rox.
Hi, Alonso. How are you?
Everything's going smoothly and I love my new mug.
Yeah, I saw it. Where'd you get it from?
I got it from a student. She knew that I was a big nerd of Star Wars as well as I'm always drinking tea, so she thought this would be the best present ever. By the way, yeah, you're totally right if you're watching this. Thank you so much.
It is really cool. But where do you drink from?
Huh?
Where do you drink from? I mean, where do you actually sip from? Take the sip. Oh, okay. Well, interesting.
Smart.
Yeah. Fine.
Well, again, I would love to talk about Star Wars and my mug and my tea. Yet, I believe that we should change the topic. What are we going to talk about today, Rox?
Okay, so have you ever wondered what it takes or what you need to do in order to become an air traffic controller?
I thought that you would need to know how to use a computer. However, I guess that is not incorrect, just as precise as saying that I live in the Milky Way.
Well, you need to do several things and you need to be proficient in several knowledge and areas of knowledge. And we're going to be talking about one of the exams, the candidates which are pursuing for this job, to become an air traffic controller, will have to face. They have to face plenty of different tasks and tests, but one of them is with English, and that's where we come. That's where we're going to be dealing with. Yeah.
And this is the Enaire test, right?
Yes.
Nice. And
indeed.
That's all I know about Enaire. Can you tell me what Enaire is?
Okay, so this is a public business entity that manages the airspace and air traffic, the air navigation in Spain, right? So it has plenty of control centers and towers throughout the country and handles, million of flights a year. And in order to work for them as an air traffic controller, you have to do firstly a pretty harsh exam. Or at least, I say one pretty harsh exam, but it's like three main parts. And then once you pass that, if you're lucky enough and, actually proficient enough, you will have to go through plenty of training and whatever. It's a bit of a long and costly process.
Okay, so now you have said that we need to take this test, this Enaire test, in order to... Well, this is one of the requirements to be an air traffic controller. Mm-hmm. What else is there for us to be an air traffic controller besides, perhaps going to a bunch of different tests that are worthy of a reality show, perhaps?
Okay, well, I think the basic requirements are to be 18 years old, to have a Spanish citizenship, and to be proficient in English for sure. At least the C1 level is required. And then, of course, to pass all these tests that I told you about, which are like 3 phases, and it's pretty funny because they're called like feast.
What a feast.
What a feast. They stand for?
Now, I know that I have to admit that I don't fully agree with this acronym, since it stands for First European Air Traffic Controller Selection Test.
Okay, so we will need more letters there.
Yeah, right. However, I guess that FIXT doesn't sound that appealing.
It would be impossible to spell. That's another hurdle to overcome.
Yeah. Let's not make it more complicated than it already is. So, Now, what are the parts that we are going to help our students with?
Okay, so it has 3. The first one supposedly doesn't usually have anything regarding English, but it's weird, you never know. Most importantly, we're going to be focusing on part 3, so feast 3, the oral part, the oral interview. That's for sure what we've been doing, helping the candidates for the exam prepare that part. Quite challenging, really fun and entertaining. Yet I have to admit that this exam is quite of a dark horse. So you it's weird to follow like a pattern. Whenever these exams come up, it's a bit difficult to follow a pattern because you're always going to be given unexpected and things, unforeseen things or unforeseen exercises. And traditionally, or at least for the past years, in the first part, there was nothing regarding English. But funny enough, this year, and actually the exams have been, well, I'm not pretty sure when our episode is going to be on air, but the last week of January 2023, they were already doing the exam. And, they encountered some exercises with English as well.
Wow.
The first part, yeah.
So I guess that we could fairly say that there is a really creative person pulling the strings. And then they said, what if we added more English to this? I guess that would make it even more interesting. Well, I mean, honestly speaking...
Interesting, okay. I'm not pretty sure to what extent they're looking for interesting, but I'm pretty sure they're looking for making it like difficult.
Yeah,
because
right.
Like, so, I mean, there's many more people doing this exam, okay? So they're looking for more hurdles to
overcome.
To overcome, indeed. Yeah. But if you, the English or the exercises in English that appeared in the first part are not that difficult. So if you already have like a C1 level, you're proficient, and you have like a C1 level, it should be more than enough. You have some reading and use of English and listening, if I'm not mistaken, exercises.
Okay,
yeah.
So can you elaborate a little bit on that, and so we can get to know more the English part?
Okay, well, basically, from what I was told, because as I just told you, it's a really secretive exam, okay? So there's nothing out there and no much information. I even feel guilty for speaking about this because it looks as if we are actually, like stepping across a line we're not supposed to, but that's not true. I mean, we're just talking about things from what we gathered from other students. But it's not necessarily related to the job, right? So it's general English. And as far as I know, it's multi-task exercises. You just have to choose the correct answer. And something I think it's pretty similar to Cambridge exams. Okay.
So yeah, pretty much like really difficult and a bunch of different topics that you have to delve into.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah. As far as I know, but as I told you, it might vary depending on the year, depending on the exam. There are not that many exercises, right? So you might be having just one reading.
Okay.
With several questions. But yeah, that's a bit the way it's been this year. It's pretty likely to change in the foreseeable future. I have no idea.
So we just have to always keep an eye on it. Nice, yeah. Interesting. So just to make it clear, not only is it difficult for the candidates, it is also difficult for us to keep track of what is needed in order to fulfill these parts.
For sure, yeah. And we do know for sure that the third part has this oral interview in English, and we were pretty convinced that won't change, okay? I mean, at least the part is going to appear and they're going to be having to talk in English. But again, that's weird because, the way the oral interview is focused might as well have some modification and variation depending on the year.
Okay. Nevertheless, as you have said, this is an interview, so it is pretty likely that you are eventually going to answer a couple of at least personal questions, or perhaps just analyzing some kind of situations, perhaps?
Yeah. Okay, so moving on to this part, like the oral interview in the FEAST 3, usually the first questions, I believe it's like pretty similar to in any official exam, you're posed some personal questions, or at least some questions aimed to break the ice. I'm not sure to what extent they really, add up to your final score. It's just, make it easy for you to get used to it, to the conversation you're going to be having with the examiner. And then, indeed, usually you're asked like other questions, more, job-orientated, or your experience. And sometimes, you never know, you might be asked some more abstract questions,
Kind of like, what if Pinocchio says my nose is going to grow?
Kind of. I hope they're not that mean. Yeah. Well, I don't know. We in our classes we try to range from a really whole spectrum of questions. Like just our students to be used to whatever they might to unexpected topics, and most importantly, to have certain formulas that they can use. So their level and the standard they set is high level.
Okay, great. So let's imagine that I stumble upon a really difficult question that I don't know how to lay out. How can I apologetically say that I don't have much clue? So I can at least start talking and not just, well.
Like, really? Have I been asked this question? Well, this is something we advise as well, like in any official exam. If you're too nervous or you lose the train of your thoughts, whatever, I think the most important thing is to make some time. So at first you can react by saying something like, "Oh, that's actually a pretty interesting question." And then if you're not sure about the topic or you still need some more time, you can say, "Well, actually I've never thought of that before. As far as I know, or in my experience, so you kind of like reduce that to your own to your own knowledge of it."
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any more tips or something you will use in a situation like that?
Well, I sincerely would say something. If I were to be asked these kind of questions, I will say, okay, honestly speaking, I haven't come across this question before. So give me a second. Okay. And then I would start answering something like that.
Right, that's a good one. Or even by saying that you're not an expert in the area, right? So you can say something, you can actually use an inversion. And we're really keen on that. And you can say something like, well, on no account, am I an expert on the topic? I'll try to do my best. So that way you kind of apologetically say that you might not know much about it, but you're eager to do your best. So that's a different way of facing that.
Yeah. Besides, you're spending a little time that you don't have to like just keep talking and talking and talking. You're just already saying something. I guess that these 3-5 seconds that you are just saying these sentences, perhaps something else is going to come up into your head. Now, I know that all of this is quite secretive. However, are there more approaches or is this pretty much it?
Oh, yeah, there are many more things that the exam can be like. Okay, so as I told you, things can change overnight. Okay, we know for sure you're going to be asked questions, yet we don't know for sure if the structure is going to be the same, throughout the whole exams. Pretty likely no, they're not going to be like that. So, like there's always something else coming out of the woodwork. Another thing that appeared was, for instance, reading aloud. And I believe that's a very important skill they want to see whether you master or not. So reading aloud, so you have like a perfect pronunciation and intonation.
Makes sense.
Yeah. In the end, it's a job, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's a thing we do work with our students as well through different kind of approaches and exercises. And easy as it may seem, it's not that of a piece of cake, honestly.
Okay, so could you say that whatever you're going to read is always going to be related to air traffic controlling, or not really?
Not really. As a matter of fact, many of the things that you have, many of the exercises or questions are far from this job. They might not even be related at all. Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's focused much more on like daily conversation. So if you like to read something, you might have to read, I don't know, extract from a conversation or some lines that you can use on a daily basis.
Okay. Speaking of which, I guess that you are going to listen to something else and then you're going to have to use this information, are you?
You mean listenings
Yeah.
or something? Yeah, there's also this kind of approach that you can encounter in this oral part. Even though it's called the oral part, you might be having some listenings as well. Yet they're not exactly the same you will have them in any other official exam. Perhaps you're given just like you have to listen to a conversation and you may have to answer, I don't know, some open questions that you're asked about that. Or sometimes what we try to do is to work on the multitasking skill, which is not a piece of cake and it's like required. It's like the backbone of being an air traffic controller, I guess, as well. And we might ask, our students to answer to open questions, to fill in the gaps, to try to identify some specific words. So all those different approaches in just one listening.
Wow, that seems really, really challenging, doesn't it? Like, yeah, not only do you have to fill the gaps, but you also have to tell me what is the meaning behind of it. Was there somebody else in the background?
Yeah, but in the end, they already have to be trained for that.
Yeah, right.
The first part of the exam, or the first one, it's like hell of a crazy part. When you're required to do psychotechnical things, and what else? If you're also prepared and trained in English, it's gonna be, I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess
helpful.
that the job requires you to expect the unexpected.
Indeed.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, and I swear to God, it's no picnic. I mean, it's not easy at all.
There
not
you
easy. I don't try to talk you out of it, talk you out of doing it. Of course, go ahead. I think it's really challenging and really fulfilling once you've done it and you've passed it. But you have to be really mentally prepared for hard times. I believe English is not the hardest part of it, depending on your level.
Certainly.
But our students, what we usually encounter is really high level people with really high level. Most of them are really proficient. I will say that 9 out of 10 they have a C1 or C2 level, and it's so cool working with them.
Fantastic. Yeah. So it's pretty much just coming up with more ways to just tackle each part of it or possible parts of it rather than just actually learning English.
Yeah, indeed. So it's not about learning English. It's about working on your mental acuity, on certain formulas, on your endurance, sometimes on your improv. I don't know. I like doing plenty of dynamic and interesting exercises with them. And you never, ever get bored.
Nice. Okay. And are there any tricks for this improv or every parts of it that you work in classes that we could just share here?
Yeah, well, I always say the same thing, but training, right? So the more you train, the better. Firstly, you have to overcome your nervousness. So if you're too nervous, that's a thing you have to get over. So the way we train is in such a way that firstly you have to overcome your nerves. Secondly, you have to have a quick wit. Okay, so there we might provide certain tricks on how not to lose the thread, or how to come up with something similar, or how to make time, and at the same time be coherent and provide, a thread throughout your conversation. So, but by and large, I think it boils down to practicing and to facing new challenging topics on a daily basis, right? Because you might get used to something, but eventually, if you're asked abstract questions and you have to come up with things you're not used to, I think keep helping you on your creativity. So that's what we try to do.
Okay, well, and yeah, well, I believe that the preparation of this has to also be really fulfilling, right?
It is indeed. It's really fun because you always run the extra mile with these students. It's not keep repeating the same formula. So eventually you have them really grasp some of the exam. You just, I don't know, kind of copy paste. It's working your brains.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay, so I really recommend, it's if you're a bit scared of this grueling experience you may gonna go through if you prepare for these exams, we're gonna be here for you guys. So yeah, we'll try to do our best to have you well prepared. And plus that, as we have that many students, we constantly gather insights and information, and we try to stick to the reality as well in the exams we create. So that's the way we work. But it's just the English part, the one we prepare, just to...
Yeah, unfortunately, perhaps the other parts you might need, I don't know, like Bear Grylls, do you know that guy? Or somebody else to get used to, I don't know, what you're going to do. Like, you're going to be left in the Arctic and then you got to survive or something, I don't know.
Well, sometimes we get insight from the other parts that we don't actually prepare, or at least we don't currently prepare. And I always pass on the information to my students. It's like, hey guys, I heard the personality test. It's a bit like this and like that, and they are seeking for this kind of attitude. And in the end, they are looking for a specific kind of attitude. So you are the best at your job, And whatever information we have on the rest of the tasks, we share it with our students.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I believe that would be it for today. That was actually super enlightening. I didn't know. I mean, it's kind of like common sense now that you think of it, that it's not an easy task to fulfill.
Not at all. And and another thing that I recommend our students is just to go on the internet, because they're like, for the other parts, you have this application on your phone you can work with, which is like really famous within the candidates for the exam, but it's not always recommendable. And I'm not talking just about the English part, I'm talking about like everything for this exam. What I recommend is to focus a lot on the psychotechnical tests, because they are beyond many people's depth, okay? They're hard to solve. And because they imply multitasking, memory, and having the memory of an elephant and have a quick wit. So what I recommend is to go online, look for any kind of psychotechnical test you can encounter there, not necessarily for this specific position.
Okay.
Try to do them all, no matter how difficult it is. And it's not a piece of cake, okay? So do that, and of course, keep working on your English.
Well, I guess, and it boils down to racking your brains.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so have to keep working on it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this was extremely enlightening, and I guess that will be it for today. It will not be it for all of you that have to prepare so much. It's going to be really rewarding. However, you definitely have to go the extra mile on this one.
Yeah, for sure. But whatever you need, we're going to be here for you guys.
Of course. So I'll see you in the next episode, and bye. Take care. Hola, ¿qué tal? Ya estoy de regreso y pues además de lucir o show off mi nueva taza, Rox y yo hablamos de la prueba de Enaire para controladores aéreos. Y es que, ¿alguna vez se han preguntado qué se necesita hacer para llegar a ser un controlador aéreo? Pues no es suficiente con saber usar un ordenador, como astutamente yo había pensado, sino que también, entre muchas otras cosas, tendrás que superar varias pruebas para mostrar tu capacidad para cumplir con el perfil necesario para este puesto. Y hoy Rox y yo hablamos de la parte que debe ser efectuada en inglés, la llamada entrevista oral en inglés. Para empezar, Rox nos aclara que Enaire es una entidad pública que controla la navegación y el tráfico aéreo por todo el país. Y para trabajar como un controlador aéreo, tienes que pasar por un examen bastante complicado, que está segmentado en 3 partes. Si pasas estas pruebas, se te proveerá el entrenamiento necesario para cumplir con los requisitos del cargo. Este es un largo y costoso proceso. También es necesario tener la nacionalidad española y ser mayor de 18 años y, claro, un nivel C1 de inglés afianzado, por lo menos. Ahora, estas 3 fases se llaman FEAST o First European Air Traffic Controller Section Test. Un acrónimo un poco tramposo, si me preguntan. En el Salón de Idiomas ayudamos a los candidatos a desenvolverse en la entrevista oral, que es la primera prueba del FEAST 3. Esta Al igual que el resto, en verdad, es una prueba bastante desafiante y entretenida de preparar. Ya de por sí, Rox nos dice que este examen es un dark horse. Esta expresión idiomática significa que es hermético o inesperado. O en el caso de una persona que le diga dark horse, es aquella que tiene habilidades ocultas y termina ganando. Y bueno, para nosotros significa que esta prueba no sigue patrones establecidos, pues cada vez que la gente se presenta, siempre sale alguna otra cosilla diferente o el planteamiento difiere. Además, no hay casi nada online relativo a cómo es la prueba o exámenes de convocatorias pasadas. Funnily enough, curiosamente, en convocatorias pasadas en la Feast One no estaba contemplada que en esta primera parte volvieran a hacer unos ejercicios en inglés. Pero para enero del 2023, los candidatos comentaron que volvieron a salir unos ejercicios en inglés, así que el inglés puede salir también en esta Feast One, aparte de la entrevista de la Feast 3. Sin duda, hay una persona bastante creativa procurando que cada vez haya más obstáculos que superar o hurdles to overcome. Aunque en la primera parte o Feast 1, los ejercicios de reading o speaking que salieron no son tan complejos, siempre y cuando tengas un C1 bien afianzado. Rox nos comenta que debido a su confidencialidad, no hay mucho que se pueda comentar de cómo está reestructurado el examen, pero sin embargo, tiene varias estrategias y hay que escoger la opción correcta y que guarda cierta similitud con el examen de Cambridge. Pero de todas formas, se sabe que cambia con el tiempo y que no son muchas partes. Así que bueno, no solo es difícil para los candidatos, sino que también nos resulta complicado seguir sus cambios o keep track of it. Sin embargo, lo que sí se sabe con certeza es que la Feast 3 tiene una entrevista en inglés, aunque de nuevo, esta puede tener algunas modificaciones dependiendo de la convocatoria. Empezando con la estructura de esta parte en concreto, normalmente al inicio pueden hacer algunas preguntas personales para romper el hielo o break the ice. Las preguntas pueden derivar sobre algo más relacionado con tu experiencia o incluso puede que nos encontremos con preguntas más abstractas. En nuestras clases procuramos abordar todo tipo de temas y preguntas para reducir las posibilidades de que tomen a nuestros alumnos por sorpresa en la prueba. Y enseñamos frases que pueden ser muy útiles para decorar las respuestas. Por ejemplo, si nos toca una pregunta que es muy difícil, podemos decir algo como, "Oh, that's actually a pretty interesting question. I've never thought of it before." O por ejemplo, "Well, honestly speaking, I haven't come across this question, so give me a second." En el caso de que quieran transmitir que no es un tema común. También hay expresiones como "In no way am I an expert on the topic, but I'll try to do my best." También se ha visto que suelen pedir leer unos readings o textos en voz alta, cosa que tiene bastante sentido que quieran evaluar la pronunciación y entonación en un puesto como este. Como dice Rox, "There are plenty of things coming out of the woodwork." Esta expresión se utiliza para referirse que hay algo que se puede aparecer de repente. Cabe aclarar también que las cosas que vayas a leer o los temas que vayas a abordar en la parte oral no necesariamente estarán ligados con el control de tráfico aéreo. De hecho, pueden ser muy variados. Ahora, ¿qué hay de los listening? Suelen salir. Efectivamente, es posible que haya que escuchar algunos audios y responder preguntas al respecto, pero esto no sería como el típico ejercicio de elegir la respuesta correcta. Sería más de escuchar y responder preguntas abiertas que el examinador te puede hacer. Y bueno, en nuestras clases lo que procuramos es practicar el multitasking, haciendo varios tipos de ejercicios a la vez, como llenar los espacios en blanco, identificar las palabras específicas y responder a preguntas aéreas. Todo esto con un solo audio, ya que el multitasking es una habilidad muy importante para los controladores aéreos. Algo que Rox también nos comparte es que la preparación para este examen, al ser tan desafiante, también la hace más interesante, ya que hay que, entre muchas otras labores, estar debatiendo ideas y en trabajar con nuestra mental acuity o agudeza mental. Entrenar ciertas fórmulas que nos facilita la coherencia mental, entrenar resistencia y la atención. En definitiva, en pocas palabras, con tanto es imposible aburrirse en nuestras clases.
Rox también nos recomienda entrenar los nervios y la improvisación para poder seguir el hilo de la conversación. Pero como dice Rox, it all boils down to practicing. Todo se resume a practicar. Nuestros estudiantes nos comentan también en qué consisten y cómo son las partes del examen que nos preparamos. Esto es muy enriquecedor para nosotros, pues nos ayuda a definir el perfil que se busca en esta prueba y para este puesto. De esta manera, en el salón de idiomas sabremos mejor cómo crear nuestros exámenes y personalizar las clases. Rox termina comentando que pueden buscar más recursos para prepararse en Internet, aparte de la aplicación móvil con la que se puede entrenar la parte psicotécnica que implica el multitasking, la memoria, la improvisación y, bueno, los ejercicios centrados en racking your brains o desvanarse los sesos para resolver un problema, pensar rápido, etc. Y bueno, recuerden que en nuestro canal les dejamos un modelo completo para entrenar la entrevista oral en inglés basado en un examen real de convocatorias pasadas. Y bueno, eso sería todo por el episodio de hoy. Y si les ha gustado, por favor, dejen el like y también pueden suscribirse al canal. Ya saben que no solamente tenemos recursos para los controladores aéreos, sino que también tenemos muchísimos recursos para mejorar su inglés en general. Así que bueno, yo me despido y los espero para una próxima vez. Take care. Bye.